Walaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam. How, Mama?
Sir, may I start?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. I, Umama Zahir from MBA IPF, will be presenting the recap of 25th March. Class can be categorized into different steps of planning: vision, mission, objectives, goals. Vision is the ability to fold the future and see things vividly. Appropriate Hindi word used for vision is soch, and in English it is foresight, which is a combination of two things, hindsight and insight, where hindsight is an understanding of events after they have occurred, and insight is a deep inspection of anything. Next, Sir discussed the vision of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, that how he had built this institution through community support and public funds. His ideas and approaches were questioned. One such example is when the construction of Jama Masjid in Aligarh started in 1879, he went to survey Delhi's Jama Masjid and recorded its measurement. The Aligarh's mosque was one-fourth of it and less spacious. But in his views, it was perfect in size by college standards as there were less students back then. The, the construction of the mosque completed in January 1915, and there were 7 people who attended the first prayer. People criticized him and blamed him for wasting their money. He was forced to comment that the time will come when the same mosque will be small for the believers. By this, we conclude that leaders are dealers in hope. They keep the hope alive. People who are blessed with good vision can see ahead and beyond, which is imperative. Further, Sir, give us an example of early life of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Many generations of his family were highly connected with the administrative position in Mughal Empire. His maternal grandfather, Khwaja Fariduddin, served as Wazir in the court of Emperor Akbar Shah II, where Sir Syed used to accompany him. After having recognized the steady decline in the Mughal political power, he decided to enter the East India Company, which communicates he was well aware about the upcoming changes. When the famine broke out in 1860 in Moradabad, he was entrusted with the organization of the relief work. With diligence, he saved around 14,000 starving people. Raja Jai Kishan Das, who first thought that Sir Syed was a great fanatic because of some of his writings, was moved away by the great humanitarian work done by him during the famine. He became the right-hand man of Sir Syed. In fact, they became so close that some of his things can be found in Aligarh's museum, and one of the hostels is named after him. Sir Syed's first work, Asarus Sanadid on historical archaeology, which utilizes the information gained by him through the extensive survey at Delhi, and its reflection can be seen in Aligarh's architect. Stretchy Hall is the perfect example of having both Mughal and British architecture. Additional to this, we learn that mission is a specific contribution to the society. It gives us a purpose for our existence. For example, AMU exists for a purpose. Its entities have larger purposes, but the vision remains the same. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan mission was to change the educational landscape of the country and of Muslims in particular. He was an educationist with a vision. He firmly believed that Muslim society would not progress without the acquisition of Western education and science. He articulated it in two expressions, Talim and Tarbiyat. Last, learned about the objectives and goals. Objectives are the open-ended attributes which help in the accomplishment of mission. To clarify it, Sir quoted us an example of the Canara Bank, the most progressive institution in the country, whose objectives were growth, innovativeness, and high profits. Whereas goals are the close-ended quantifiable objectives with a fixed time frame for achieving it. Construction of management complex falls into this category as it was as whereas VC's goal was to get it completed by the year 2016 or 2017, as it was his wish to inaugurate it during his tenure. All organizations have hierarchy of goals that can be broken into short, medium, and long term. Hence, they become targets, which makes sure that we are on the right track. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Next one, please. Zareen ma'am, who is the second volunteer?
Muzammil Ahmad Bhati. So he's supposed to present, but he's not there.
Okay. So, Mama, you did a good job. You presented with a lot of force, and you have good command over language also. So that's your advantage. And you speak it with confidence. And your content was also good. Not only you focused on the content which was covered in the class, but you added a few points to the factual details that were shared, like when the mosque was built and all that. So I would rate it as a very good recap. Well done, Umama.
Thank you so much.
So let us move ahead with the content which we are discussing. So by now you have an idea about how goals are set, and we talked about different levels. Zareen ma'am, have we specified the recap, those who will be presenting recap tomorrow?
Yes, sir. I have mentioned that today, and also I have posted the schedule. Mohammad Faizan Khan and Rishda Kaleen, they shall be presenting the recap tomorrow. You both are present?
Yes,
ma'am.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so you are talking about the process of goal setting, and we talked about different hierarchy of goals that are there in the organization, and starting with the vision, and then we talked about mission, purpose, we talked about objectives, we talked about targets, all that. Now, let us discuss this. How to set challenging goals? Can you throw some light on this? Like we talked about this goal which we set for ourselves, that we'll be completing this building during the tenure of the Vice Chancellor. Do you think this has an element of motivation?
Yes, sir.
So what are the elements? Let us discuss which makes it motivating for us to work for it.
Sir, first it was the challenge that was involved to get the resources and the funding.
Mm-hmm. So I think the element which must be present in a motivational goal is that it should be sufficiently challenging, isn't it? Yet achievable. So it should not sound so difficult. Yes, Taj talks about SMART goals. SMART actually is an acronym which stands for
Specific, measurable, achievable, or time bound.
Yes.
Relevant and time bound.
So what S stands for is specific.
Specific.
The goals should be specific. When they would be specific, they would be measurable, the other element, isn't it? So for example, if we have set this target that the Vice Chancellor is going to demit his office in May 2017. And we have to move into the building before that. We have to inaugurate the building before that. Okay. So it has an element of specificity, and you can measure it also. How measurement is possible? The measurement is possible when you have a specific time frame in which you intend to evaluate whether you have moved ahead or not. So one element is specificity, the other element is measurement. Like for example, you can set smart goals for yourself also. For example, let us say if you want to see how you are progressing in terms of your personal growth, what could be a specific target? For example, suppose you want to work on your English language proficiency. Can we set specific goals?
Sir, I don't think there can be any specificity in learning English. It is infinite actually.
But still, if we can have some yardsticks, otherwise, this is the whole point. If we say that, this is a long drawn thing and we cannot develop. For example, we can have a target like this. Okay, we will learn 5 new words each day. Now the same goal which apparently appeared vague, or we will read 10 pages of proper English language which is available in the form of literature each day. Now the same thing which some of you feel are not definable become definable. And that is the beauty of goal setting. That we set specific goals so that we each day can monitor how we are progressing towards the goals. In fact, we used to peruse the monthly report submitted by our project management company for our management complex. And each month there was a target that this is what we have to achieve. And unfortunately, it so happened that there were some bottlenecks on the site. The major being that our present building is located. Earlier, a public road used to pass by through that building plot. And when we carried out the excavation work, we realized that there is a water line passing through that. And it was a municipality line, so we could not have full control on that, and we had to spend a lot of time in getting that water line diverted from there to the main road. So there was a delay, and we knew that now there is a delay of 29 days because of this problem. And not only water line but telephone line was also passing through that. Especially earlier we used to have landline phones, and most of the households would have at least one landline phones. So the point is that if you know the progress, measure the progress. Your goals are SMART goals, which the acronym which Taj used. So SMART stands for, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, and what A stands for?
Achievable.
Achievable. Achievable in the sense that they should have an element of challenge, but they should not be so difficult that they immobilize you. You don't act. So if, for example, if we had just 6 months to do the project, it would have been very, very challenging. In fact, impossible. And then It would not have had that element of challenge. So achievable, doable, that is one element of SMART goals. What R stands for?
Relevant.
Now, by relevant, what do we mean? Again, can you assess it in the context of that example which I shared with you? So, for example, this building of our new management complex, is it a relevant goal?
Yes, sir. Because it is important for the management of
Yes.
studies.
So, physical infrastructure is extremely important naturally, and we need to have a goal which appeals to others. So, it should have an element of engagement with others. So, when we set such goals which creates an involvement of others, they become relevant. And what T stands for?
Time bound.
Time bound. Very true. Because then only, in fact, there is a lot of discussion on this. Some people think that it is not. Sometimes it is not possible to specify the goals. So let it be vague. And when I undertake assignments related to career planning, for example, I come across this kind of vagueness very often. For example, many a times people say, when I ask them what is their goal in life, they would have such vague expressions like, I want to be a good human being. Is it a good aspiration to have? I want to be a good human being. It is naturally very good, but it is very vague. As opposed to that, I came across a person whom I was interacting with, and he said, I have this life goal of, ensuring that he comes primarily from a village in Aligarh. Now he's a practicing doctor. But each day he goes back to each week, one day in a week, he spends in his village. And he has made this as his life's mission that every household in my village should have 2 trees in the house. One a tall tree and another a fruit bearing tree. Now, and he has done it till date for 50% of the households of his village. Now, what would you say about this person? Is his goal relevant? He wants to have a proper green environment in his village, and he wants to contribute to green environment overall. Naturally, he has to start from somewhere. So he started, as they say, charity begins from home. So he started it from his own native village. And it's a very specific goal which he has set for himself. It is not that this goal could be set like this also, that I want to work for the improvement of environmental quality. That too would be a good goal to pursue, but it would not have that element of specificity. So my request to you would be, set specific goals for yourself, and that you can measure how you are progressing towards that goal. Now, so keep this thing in mind, that whenever you set the goals, this SMART acronym will always come handy to you. Now, another thing which you will find in the goal setting is the process of goal setting. There are two ways in which we can set the goals. One goal could be that the top, as we call the top to bottom approach, where the elders in the team, they set the goals. And rest take them as given and work for achievement of those. The other approach could be what we call the bottom up approach, where we engage with the lower functionaries and then we evolve our goals. Now, the second approach which we shared with you is often called, there is an acronym which has been used for this kind of approach. It is called the Management by Objectives approach, MBO. So, Kamran, can you write it in the chat box for everyone to note this approach, management by objectives. So which do you think could be a good approach? The top sets the goals versus an approach where we engage with others. Can you elaborate with the example? Let us discuss Sir Sayyid's example only. How could somebody else have the same vision as Sir Sayyid? So, Taj, you are very right that in certain situations, some visionary persons, they set the goals. Like in our university's case, primarily it was Sir Sayyid's vision. And that vision crystallized because of his years of involvement in the affairs of the community. And finally, he was the one who was charged and inspired to do something. So there are situations when, one person takes the lead. But if that vision remains one person's vision, will that be a good eventuality? There is a couplet which says it all कि मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. So this couplet actually indicates towards this idea that yes, the start of the institution could have been by one person, but the beauty of the vision is the way it creates engagement with others. Now, in case of Sir Sayyid, for example, Sir Sayyid's vision was to establish a university right from the day one. But was this vision achieved during his lifetime?
No, sir.
No. In fact, the vision was realized after 22 years of his passing away. He passed away in 1898 and AMU was created in 1920. That is 22 years after his passing away. And it's a very, very unique case that an institution continues to grow after the founder has passed away. Generally, otherwise, our experience has been that, you know, the institution reaches its zenith during founder's lifetime, and afterwards, the institution starts sliding. This is a commonplace experience which you can have a look at many institutions which might have been created in your own hometown, and now they are languishing. So unless we have our goal setting process engages with others, we will not be able to, sustain the effort. And I have already shared with you how do we create engagement with others. I have shared with you the example of Mehdi Mia, who was dead against Sir Syed, but how finally he was molded to Sir Syed's ideas and became a part of the vision. And in fact, if the college became a university, the major contribution to it was done by this man called Mohsin Mulk later on. So that is the beauty of the goal setting process, creating engagement with others. And in traditional parlance, we call it, the term which was coined for it by Peter Drucker, no less than a management guru of that stature. He called it management by objectives. So objectives becomes the basis of management of an enterprise. Now you will be surprised, or you may be wondering why it should be in any way different. Objectives should always be the basis of the work of any enterprise. But actually what happens is that I give you an example which will explain the point that I'm trying to make. There is a temple town in South India, Mahabalipuram. Some of you might have visited it also. It's a temple town. So there was a researcher who went there and met three persons who were working there, and this researcher asked the first question a common question to all the three persons. So when the first person was asked this question, that what are you doing? So this person responded that I am making a living. यानी मैं अपनी रोजी रोटी कमा रहा हूं. When the second person was approached and asked the same question कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं? What are you doing? He said, I am doing the best stone cutting job in the country. So he was he was having pride in his unique craft which he has developed, and that was his stone cutting skills. और वो पत्थर को तराश रहा था, उसको लग रहा था यही मेरा काम. When the third person was approached and he was asked the same question, what are you doing? This fellow responded that I am building a temple. Now, what are the implications of this example which I have shared with you? Same work, three different approaches. What could be the learning from this example?
third response, his vision was very much clear that he wants to build a temple.
And what about the second person?
In second approach, he seems to be very determined and very much clear about his talent and what he wants to do.
So he was skillful, but he was lacking vision.
He was lacking vision.
The difference is in the view, how broad the view is. The third person has the broadest view. The second person has the broader view, and the last person has the least broad view.
Actually, the symbolism of the example is that it is the second person who often creates problem in the organization. The first person you can manage through that top-down approach which we just now talked about. He is there to earn his living and he will work as per your command. No problem with him. You will, if you give him specific directions, what is to be done, he will do that. Because he has to make a living. But the symbolism of the second example is that often the work in the organization is performed through specialists. You know, they may be finance specialists, they may be computer specialists. But do you think if specialist vision is not linked to the overall purpose of the enterprise, that specialization could at times be liability? What do you think on this?
Yes, sir.
Actually, the problem with the specialist is that if he is not able to link the larger purpose, and I've seen this conflict many times in the university. For example, you know, we have a role which is the finance role. We have had very efficient finance officers, and there was overcrowding in the hostels, and we had a vice chancellor who was set to set things right, and he asked the finance officer that can we get funds for this purpose, and there were earmarked funds for the routine expenses. And he said, I want to utilize it for improving the hostel infrastructure. And finance officer cited various constraining rules because of which it cannot be done. And ultimately, Vice Chancellor had to, make this point clear to you, clear to him that we are there to solve the organization's problems, not to stifle work citing rules. So some specialists, they get too involved in their specialty. The example of tea I have already discussed with you. So people who have a, too narrow an approach to their specialty and are not able to link that with the larger vision of the enterprise, they become a problem in the organization. And for them, management by objectives approach is the right kind of approach, which can tell them that what is the larger contribution that their specialty is making to the organization. And often this becomes a bone of contention in many organizations. This creates hierarchical problems also in the organization. Sometimes what happens is the why people's efforts are misdirected. Organizations are generally arranged as per a hierarchy. And when we take up the course on communication, the unit on communication, we'll share how the vision gets diluted from the original when it traverses to the lower end. For example, if you ask a lowly placed clerk in the office of a university, and if you ask him what is the vision of the university, will he be able to articulate it or understand it? And if he makes this as his vision, that my task is to complete the job of receipt and dispatch for the office, he is right as far as his particular work profile is concerned. But somewhere down the line, he should have a vision as to why university exists. So generally, when there is a large hierarchy which is involved in the organization, people lower down in the hierarchy, they are not able to see that bigger picture. And then they are not able to link their effort with the goals of the enterprise. And this is a very serious problem which occurs. Peter Drucker calls it the forces of misdirection. Sometimes, it happens unconsciously also in organization when there is a person who is your boss and we end up pleasing the boss rather than serving the organizational objectives. For example, let us take the case of a university teacher who is working in the department. And you have a system of rotation of chairmanship in the departments. And every department has an academic role and also has an administrative role. So a teacher is primarily there to perform the academic role. And that academic role is teaching, research. These are the core roles. But chairman often needs assistance on administrative matters also. Like for example, there will always be, let us say, 20 odd mails which have to be responded to. Ideally, it should be the chairman's job to do it with the help of the office. But he ends up taking help of one of the faculty colleague, for example. Suppose this process is overdone and a faculty member loses track of his main job, which is teaching and research. The chairman may have a very positive opinion about that person because he is that person's troubleshooter. But he may not realize that the main job of the teacher is being compromised because of the administrative role in which he is being engaged in. So, for example, if there is a clear objective that each teacher knows, and I have seen this in IIM Ahmedabad, that you can make contribution to academic administration, but there is only certain points that you can earn, maximum certain points you can earn on that account. If you have to score 10 points, maybe a maximum of 2 points you can earn from on that account. The major part has to be through your publications and through the courses that you have taught and the feedback you have received. So when performance assessment of the teacher was done, annual performance assessment, and they have, although no one was generally fired, but each year their contract was renewed, and that was on the basis of the points that they have scored. I shared with you the forces of misdirection which exist in every organization. One, the specialized nature of work. Second, the hierarchy. And third, the bosses also at times end up misdirecting the efforts. And that is why Peter Drucker says that management by objectives should be the basis of all actions or management of the enterprise. Because then these forces of misdirection are taken care of. Okay. So this was about the goal setting thing. Now we still have some time left. So I'll share with you a few ideas about the types of plans that we can have in the organization. Because I have shared with you the two things that we do in planning. One is we set goals and we develop plans how to realize those goals. So in organizations we can have for example, there one type could be in terms of the frequency of use. Some plans are for regular use. Some plans are, and they are called standing plans. And there are some plans which are for one-time use. Typically, all project management involves one-time planning. For example, we have just now talked about the new management complex which was created. Now, this was not a regular planning. This was one-time planning. So, for that, the single-use plans are developed. But for example, how admission should take place in the organization, how examinations should be conducted in the organization. Now, this is something which is of regular use for the organization. Each year we would be faced with this issue of admitting students in various courses. So for that we need to have standing plans. So plans could be standing plans, plans could be single-use plans. Now standing plans could also be of different types. For example, we have policies, we have procedures, and we have rules. So for example, what is the policy in the university? The policy in the university is, for example, the policy regarding attendance. Leave aside this COVID part in which now we are meeting online. But the typical concept of our university is that ours is a residential university. Majority of our students live in the hostels. And when they have come here, they should attend the classes. So the policy is that all students should attend classes in the physical mode. Now, for implementing this policy, you require procedures. For example, we may have a procedure that each day the attendance will be marked. So the teacher will come and you might have experienced this, those of you who have studied, that generally the teacher would come with the register and would record the attendance of the particular day and would maintain that record. So that is the procedure part of it. Then there are rules which specifically guide the action. For example, the rule may say that you may have to have 75% of the attendance. In that also there could be some variations done, like for example, at one point of time we had a rule that you must score 75% in each paper, not overall only. Because we realized, based on experience, we revised the rules. We realized that some of the students find attending the first class very difficult. For one reason or the other. So there was a deliberation in the organization, in our team, and the teacher who was engaging the first class had opined that he is at a disadvantage. So we said, and because such students will always make up in the remaining classes, so their absenting in the first class did not matter. So we evolved this rule that no, you have to have 75% attendance in each class. Then you are promoted. So standing plans could be in the form of policies, it could be in the form of procedures, they could be in the form of rules. Okay. And we have also discussed the time horizon, time bound. Some plans are for short run, some plans are for long run. Those plans we call strategic plans. Those plans which are, for shorter run, we call them tactical plans. So plans could also be of various types. So we close here and we will then carry this discussion forward when we meet next time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.